event happening. And here we are, finally back from our vacations. Well, if there is such a thing as time off in the startup world, not even in the summer, I believe. And now some that we have to share from our activities in Startup Portugal. We are just about to close our Road to Web Summit period of applications. Candidates will have an additional couple of days to apply until September 20. We'll be taking 125 startups to represent the Portuguese ecosystem in this year's Web Summit. We are looking forward to working with these entrepreneurs in order to assist them in better preparing their presence at the conference. Of these 125 startups, we have partnered with Jassy Africa and Bantuman to select 15 startups from Black founders and other minorities, and we've partnered with Casa do Impacto to also select another 10 startups impacting our society. We feel that these particular startups will be a great addition to the Portuguese representation in the Web Summit 2023. But earlier this summer, we submitted a set of proposals benefiting the Portuguese entrepreneurial ecosystem for discussion in the 2024 state budget. We are hoping that this can be a further step in helping and supporting our ecosystem, especially our entrepreneurs, with tax benefits and other fiscal incentives. We take very seriously our mission of contributing and monitoring the design and implementation of public policies to support entrepreneurship, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on this subject. Before the holidays, we also finished the evaluation of the PRR vouchers for startups and vouchers for incubators and accelerators. And we are just expecting the results to be communicated anytime via the YAPME PRR Incentives Console. We are also excited to share with you that we are preparing our next Incubex, which will take place in Portimão, Algarve, on the 28th of September. This is the second edition of this national meeting of incubators and accelerators that we do in 2023. And it will be a great opportunity to co-create a joint vision on the future of incubation. We have a great program with insightful workshops and plenty of time for networking. If you haven't received the invitation to join this event, please come and talk to us, and we'll sort it out, of course. We've also been very busy preparing our participation in the second Digital with Purpose Global Summit, which will happen later this month, from the 27th to the 29th in Altice Arena in Lisboa. This will be a very important event, and Startup Portugal is responsible for its own stage, with its own agenda and its own pitch competition. The applications for the pitch competition will close this week. So if you haven't had a chance to apply, make sure you do it shortly. The chosen 20 projects will have the opportunity to present their ideas in the Startup Portugal stage, and we will be awarding 5,000 euros to help advance the development and implementation of the winning project. And now, today, the topic that brings us here is finance, technology, and sustainability. As you certainly know, Fintech is a very important vertical in Portugal, and it represents approximately 20% of the investment in our national entrepreneurial ecosystem. The Fintech ecosystem, excluding the international Fintechs operating in Portugal, has raised, on aggregate, over 1 billion euros. And Anchorage, one of the unicorns with Portuguese DNA, it's directly involved with this vertical. For today, we have a especially great panel moderated by Wanda Jesus, Managing Director at iCapital and the Non-Executive Director at Startup Portugal. And we are very glad to host Marta Palmeiro, co-founder and CFO at Student Finance, João Freire de Andrade, co-founder and president at Portugal Fintech, Ricardo Costa, CEO at Locker, and Ana Teixeira, co-founder and CEO at Mudei. We are hoping for a hearty and compelling discussion around the question of Fintech's role in achieving financial sustainability. But This means not only financially sound startups with a clean balance sheet, but we also want to take a look at fintech startups that are promoting sustainable enterprises, sustainable practices, and thus working towards a better and more sustainable future. We just have to give a shout out to our fantastic partners who have contributed a lot for this event, namely our hosts for today, Fintech House, here in Lisbon. The Fintech House is an initiative of Portugal Fintech in partnership with Situ to create an ecosystem where every fintech, regtech, insurtech, and cybersecurity company in Portugal can easily interact with regulators, legislators, consultants, banks, investors, and other relevant entities. We must also extend our thanks to our partners in Porto, our hosts Easy at Celina, and of course, UPTEC, Porto City Hall, and the 351 community. We will now start, as usual, with the warm-up pitches. And today we have with us Unlockit.io, Biometrid, Finbox Solutions, and Limpid. In one way or another, these startups are linked with the fintech vertical that brings us here today, and we will now hear their ideas. João, now to you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Pedro. Let's get the show going, and I would like to invite Tiago Dias from Unlockit to take the stage. Please give a round of applause to Tiago.
There will no presentation? No? Okay. First of all, my name is Tiago Dias. I'm 43. I'm born in Lisbon, and I'm in this adventure for 10 years old, building companies from scratch, tech companies. Unlockit is a prop tech and a gov tech company that is creating the most trustable, reliable, transparent, and secure way of transacting a property in Portugal or in Europe. This is a massive challenge for us. The problem is huge. I don't have time to explain it, but the most important part is that there are no integrity in the information. That's the main problem that we are solving. There's a lot of problems in terms of personal information, in terms of the business information, predial and document. But in reality, we are trying to solve the problem by the root. That's why we are targeting the government. That is the most challenging part. What are we doing today? First of all, we are helping realtors signing their contracts, identifying in a strong way their clients to have legal and juridical certainly, and in the end to exchange information in a secure way, because in this market nobody is respecting the GDPR. Nobody. The people are exchanging information like crazy. That is something that for me it's really awkward. We are selling to realtors. Realtors is real estate agents, real estate agencies, brokers, or master franchisings. This is our goal in the short term. In the long term, we are talking with the Portuguese regulators, ERN for registry, AT, that is the tax authority, and in the end, IMPIC, that is the European regulator. We are trying to build some tools to our platform to be the glue of the market, okay? This is the first compliance project in Portugal and one of the first in Europe. What are our midterm goal? Is really, really, really ambitious. We want to start building a unique registry property for any country in the European region. This is huge. This will change the market. And first of all, we need, and to be really quick, to build another infrastructure to transacting a property. So we are a deep tech. We are working with Inesc ID and Nova SBA right now about this. This will be, and we are starting building this to change the backbone of our solution for Web3. On top, and to end this, okay, we are building smart contracts for the rental side. Why rental side? Because in terms of the legislation and the legal part is much more easier for us, because we just need one thing, that is a regulatory sandbox, and right now that is assured by one thing that is called blockchain.pt. Thank you very much. We are Unlock It.
Thank you, Tiago. Now over to Porto, where I would like to invite to take the stage Alexandre Martins from Biometri ID. Can you hear me, Porto?
So the presentation. Just waiting for my presentation. Okay, may I start? Okay, hello. My name is Alexandre. I'm from Biometri, and today I'm going to talk about how to transform remote account opening in banks in a very simple process that takes just a couple of minutes. So, first thing first, I'm 22. I'm young, right? However, the year I turned 18, I actually lost my password to my bank account. And so because of that, I had to call the bank several times. And unfortunately, I actually had to go to my local bank succursal. So it overall was a very big issue. And that day, I've discovered that banks face huge identity verification problems. Now, what is the most critical point regarding identity verification for banks? The answer to that is remote account opening. And the problem is that traditional bank remote account opening create a lot of problems, not only for the customer, but for the bank itself. So really, let's dive deep into this. So first, of course, legal compliance, meaning KYC and AML. Obviously, the banks needs to know who is in fact creating an account in their own bank. Sounds rational, right? And second of all, identity fraud. So let me tell you guys a secret. Just in 2022 alone, the identity fraud losses were up to $42 billion. That's crazy, right? And as for the customer, of course, the customer is expecting a very smooth interaction, a very simple and fast process. And in most of the cases, that's not the case, isn't it? So that is why Biometric was founded. We are a remote identity verification company that simplifies these three things: customer journey, legal compliance, as well as preventing identity fraud. So we have different technology, ID document OCR, facial recognition, digital signature, that allow us to build customer journeys that solve these three issues. So I actually forgot to tell you a thing before, guys, is that 4 years have passed by and I'm still very upset with my old bank. So one day I was having lunch and I got a text message from Bank W, which is a new bank. And they told me their customer interaction was much, much easier and I could create an account within just a couple of minutes. So I decided, let's give it a go. So I actually opened up my cell phone and I just filled up a quick form online in my cell phone. I've just uploaded a couple of documents, not a big issue, right? Second of all, they asked me to take a picture of my ID document. So I got the ID document on my table and I just took a picture from the front and the back. And all of this, meanwhile, our software, Biometric, is extracting all the information from the ID document and checking if it's a legit document, a real document, or a fake one. And then finally, just before digitally signing, they asked me to perform a simple facial recognition. So I just put my cell phone and did a 2-second self video. It was as simple as that. Within minutes, I've just created and opened a bank account. Needless to say, never talk to my old bank again. Now, with this simple account opening and with our technology, the bank did solve all these three issues that I mentioned earlier. So first, they know exactly who I am. They've solved the fraud because they have my facial recognition and they have automatically the comparison from my face to the ID document that I've presented earlier. Also, they solved compliance. They got KYC and AML very easy and completely automatic. And third of all, my customer journey was great. It was very simple and I've created an account within just minutes. Now, let me tell you one more thing. Let me ask you one thing. What do you think is the lifetime value of a 22-year-old customer joining a new bank? A lot, right? So, to tell you more about our company, we work with a lot of big institutions, a lot of big companies. For instance, we work with AMA, Government of Portugal, with the Digital Mobile Key Initiative. We work with a lot of banks as well. To name a few, we work with Citibank, we work with Caixa Geral de Depósitos, and a lot of other financial institutions as well. I've probably passed my 3 minutes mark right now, but let me tell you just two things. It's that first, I'm completely open to talk about our technology, more about what we do and how we can help improve customer journey as well as simplifying process for your company. And second of all, I'm never joining the old bank again. Thank you very much.
Now it's time to come back to Lisbon and to invite Dmitry to tell us all about Finbox solutions. Please applaud the man.
Delay. No, they analyze my brain, they said me, and directly send me advice, friendly speaking. For this reason, thank you guys. No words about presentation. I think my brain more complicated. But I need this one, right? No. What do you mean no? Okay. But I need presentation still. Sorry, guys. Oh, thank you. Again, thank you for coming. My name is Dmitry, and every time I think how to save planet and make money. Save planet, make money. You know, it's very interesting. But anyway, for this reason, in Finbox solutions, they analyze user footprint to help neobanks, because they have money, improve their experience. It's easy. We found start of the year, and for these 8 months, they have more than 300,000 euros revenue by the global clients for this product. And everything starts with our mission. We fight with global poverty by democratization access to financial tools. With this mission, we create ECG product that help and think about sustainability. The problem that new generation looking for the bank and investment, not just based on finance performance, but because this company has his value. For example, environment value, impact value. And we have right now more than 100 million millennials who think about that. And it's a big market because it's more than 2 trillion, dollars. But 92% of neobank, they're more innovation than traditional bank, friendly speaking, don't have some ESG services. Our solution, because we have ready-to-use white label solution, is 60% more cost effectively than outsourcing or in-house development. Yeah, about our product. Anyway, it's a mobile app that, again, analyze user footprint and give some advice about the product that think about ESG and sustainability. You just give information about your transaction, and they start to do everything with this information. Yeah, they sales in a different way, but anyway, they think that Web Summit is one of the best place for ECG product. And we have a good modern technology. They use microservices to scale our product. very fast. We have 10 years experience. We started with gamification mobile bank for kids and do some serious stuff product like investment services. Our team has all experience and we have a good advisor from Banco Besto, João Cabrida. And they are proud to be a part of Fintech House and Startup Portugal. Thank you for coming. Let's go to Save Planet together, step by step. Thank you.
Thank you, Dmitry. And now it's going back to Porto once more. Let's give the stage to André Lage from Limpid for the last pitch of today. Some applause for André.
Hey, hey everyone. Hey guys at Lisbon. Thank you for the invitation, first of all. So my name is Andre, co-founder of Limpid, crypto fintech. Crypto fintech is a bit difficult to explain, so I usually now, first thing I ask, who of you, I'm not asking to Lisbon because I can't see you, but who of you here have ever bought any type of token or crypto? Okay, half. And of those who ever interacted with a DeFi protocol, if you know what I mean by DeFi protocol. Okay, even 20% of the room. So that's a problem. Of the 50%, only 20, so I would say 10% of the room have ever interacted with DeFi protocols. DeFi protocols are the new financial revolution. That's what I strongly believe, and that's where fintech is going. Why? Because not only you get to see BlackRock and those big institutions entering the crypto world, but you also see them adapting crypto technology, blockchain technology, JP Morgan, so on and so forth. What's the beautiful thing on that? You get to cut intermediaries, you get to cut costs on banks, on people, on resources. You get more yield on a sustainable, trustless, and transparent way. Fascinating. The problem, it's very difficult to access DeFi protocols. If you know, that's where I'm starting now here and why Limpid. DeFi, it's absolutely complex, right? When accessing to DeFi, you have at least 5 steps. Each of one of those, you get to lose your crypto if you don't make those steps on a secure and calm manner. Why? Because you got to go to an exchange, deposit euro, swap it, create a custodial account, get the private keys. I won't continue. It's way complex. That's why no one does it. And why there is Limpid here? Limpid is here to simplify the access to DeFi. Limpid is like a crypto revolut, meaning you get your Web2 experience, a neobank experience. You create an account, you deposit euro or crypto on your account, and the third step, you choose the DeFi product. What does this mean? This is the app already live, but what does this mean? This means that at Limpid, we bring the DeFi protocols to a neobank experience. We don't convince the users to go to DeFi. We bring DeFi to a simplified experience. And why? And with one wallet, one user, this is a technical part that everyone gets to see their funds at any time, every moment, proof of reserves, the beauty of blockchain. You have your address, you go to a block explorer, you see that Limpid has its funds there. And why is DeFi interesting? So my strong belief is that the new financial roots will be built on top of the Ethereum protocol and their layer 2 solutions. With more adoption of Ethereum protocol, for you to make transactions in Ethereum, you have to pay gas. That gas fees is paid in Ethereum, hence the Ethereum token will accrue in value. If you believe that, you'll hold your Ether, waiting for your Ether to accrue in value, right? That's a normal thing. But with DeFi, you can put your Ether to work, meaning you get yield on your Ethereum. You put your Ethereum to work, validating the blockchain. I won't go there, but you get a sustainable, trustless, and transparent yield that is yielding between 4 to 8% a year. It's like real estate, it's like stocks. you get the value, the accrue of the value from the main asset, and you get passive income on top of that. Plus, you can do it with several new products like lending and borrowing markets, where you get the yield on USD and Euro at 5, 6, 7%. It's limitless, what I would say. So Limpid is here to simplify that access to DeFi with a peace of mind, meaning that we have all the licenses, fiat on and off ramp, you can hold euros, you have your IBAN account, we have the crypto custody registration. So with all the legal setup, why now? Because what I said, the market is huge, everyone on the traditional finance space is entering the market. You can just Google BlackRock, you can just Google Valkyrie, JP Morgan. Why the people, let's say this way, is not entering? Because it's way too difficult. The sector is on early stage, and we are here to help the people to get it in the space and earning the yield that comes from a trustless, permissioned, and transparent way. Thank you. This is Limpid.
Thank you, Andrea. Now it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage all our panelists for today. Starting with Porto, I would ask you all to give a warm welcome to Ana Teixeira from Made and Ricardo Costa from Locker. And now here in Lisbon, please give a round of applause to Marta Palmeiro from Student Finance, João Freire de Andrade, President of Portugal Fintech, and Wanda de Jesus, Managing Director of iCapital.
Thank you. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think it's such a great pleasure. It is easy. It would be impossible to say no when I came out of holidays and I had a call from Startup Portugal saying that they will put together all my favorite world. So the previous, the tech, the startup, the fintech, that is my new world because I'm new in the fintech world, but I've been here a lot of times by now. And also that the event will be held here. And heading to this, also the sustainability. So I think it was like impossible to resist. And then I had the pleasure now to learn a little bit more my guests for today. So Marta, João, Ricardo, and Ana, thank you. I really like this format that we are doing in Startup Portugal. I hope you all like, because it's a way that we keep connected, and it really feels that we are in the same space. I hope you feel the same in Oporto, okay, guys? So it's another thing that is interesting for me, is that discussing this kind of topic, I came from also, I was in Microsoft for a long time, but I work in Portugal Digital. Yes, I was crazy enough to work with the government very closely, so that's where I got closer of Startup Portugal. And also all the projects that we are doing with BIAPMA, with the PRR and all of that. But one of the things that I did was the digital, I worked a lot with digital literacy. And I was already used to see Portugal in the middle of the rankings in what has to do with digital literacy. And I found out now, studying a little bit more about financial literacy and digital financial literacy as well, that we are in the really hand, which ended like probably I had to change a little bit, switch my mission to also help to drive this change. And I'm so glad that today we can also discuss this here. And I hope the ecosystem is also prepared to help drive this. Another thing that I'm very happy is with the diversity of our panel. So we have 2 women, 2 men, 2 in Oporto, 2 in Lisbon. I have someone from capital markets, that is Marta, and now student finance, that is something that I was very curious to know about on background on how to prepare future-proof careers, from what I understood. Yes. We also have a VC, an entrepreneur, and the founder of the Fintech House, João Freire. And we have an insurance specialist in Oporto, so Ana, thank you. And of course, a company that I also already knew, Locker, and a professor, a PhD in AI, so always useful to be at hand, Ricardo. And we will also go for that. On my notes that I had from I tried to know them, and I think I'm in a disadvantage because I think you all know each other, more or less. So they know pretty well. They probably know each other very well. So I don't know you, probably. So I will do some probably not so deep questions. So I hope you all contribute. But we also can open the questions for our audience. So to start, I don't know, because there are topics that I'm also entering on, and I was very curious to know, because I was not aware, that in Portugal we already have, leading by the regulators, we have a Portuguese digital financial literacy strategy that will go from 2023 to 2025, and it has a pretty set of huge topics and huge activities that they are planning, although I think that probably very focused on the regulators, government, and Banco de Portugal and CMPM. But so I'm very curious, and I will start this question for all our guests, and then I will go a little bit deeper with each one of you on other topics. On this strategy, they also created a roadmap that includes some groups. One is the youngest population from 16 to 24, adults over 55, sorry for the ones present, so older adults, individuals with low income and low education, women, and other vulnerable groups. So the question for you, and we can start by João, do you agree? So were you aware of this strategy? How can the ecosystem generally, and of course you as a VC as well, can help drive this strategy? What has been done? What more can we do?
Mm-hmm. No, first of all, thanks a lot for having me here. Like, it's a great pleasure. So thanks, Startup Portugal, for the invitation. And it's a great pleasure to be with all the panelists. Wanda, directly to your question, it's important, those type of strategies, and the regulators, they are doing their role. Actually, once they launch this, they've done a very interesting conference, bringing lots of numbers, OCD, but again, that's typically a top-down approach. And what I think, and we are in the tech community, we have to do product development. And once we are doing product development, we go to the roots of the problem. We speak with the people. We understand why this segment and these personas, why they are not investing. And I think that's what we should aim to keep doing as a tech community if we want to tackle this, let's say, financial literacy problem. Just to share a little bit of what I already know about the subject, I lived in Mozambique like 10 years ago, and many kids, like 5 years, 10 years old kids, they had problems with math. But if you show them money, they would be Einsteins, like they do all the calculations. So many times it's the way you connect, like if you create interest for the people and you explain that. I think these days, in a macroeconomic point of view, we are living a very interesting moment, very challenging moment, but very interesting to change some mentalities. Why? Because till now, with zero inflation, like you could just stay with your money and you would not be eroded by inflation. But now people are starting thinking, and again, we had the Portuguese, let's say, retail debt instrument called the certificados de furro. People had a safe bet, but now they are they need to go to other products to get yield, at least to hedge the inflation. Yeah. So it's opening up at least, or it's raising some knowledge and some, let's say, urgency on the savings side. Then, of course, like we are speaking about part of the population.
A small part. Understand
that. You know, like it's a small part, and you know that, of course, there's a huge part of the population that it's very stretched. Yeah. With, let's say, with the credit side to pay the bills. But again, this type of education, you have to do it at the roots, at schools, things that deeply into the behavior of people. Why? Because even, let's say, if you don't start saving from the, let's say, moment zero, once you start earning, trying to do some decisions that even with a low budget, if possible, you start doing some, let's say, expense decisions, saving decisions, you'll never be an investor. And you can be invested in a low scale, but then it comes all the, let's say, difficulties on knowledge, literacy, and that's where technology, I think, can democratize a lot, like analyzing expandings, helping people saving, don't do this, do that, like hints, tips. And then once you have some money, you can put it, you can apply that money. Like we can say there's lots of people that can't even pay their bills. That's true. But imagine, even in geographies, and I have studied with Mozambique and I finished there, like there's people and there's very interesting companies of mobile money bringing solutions of how you can apply that money. I think it's opening up, you know, in a micro point of view with a structure and simple language solutions for people to apply their money. But again, we could speak a lot, but I think wealth tech can definitely play a role here.
Very well. We go for a Porto and then we come back,
course,
Marta.
yeah, let's do that.
So, Anna, any points also on this, how to tackle this and help? We have a strategy, we even have an action plan, but how can we really go, as João was saying, when we are delivering and building the products, how can we help drive this theme?
Hi, first of all, thank you for the invitation for being here to start up Portugal. It's a pleasure. And when we started Mudei, at its core was financial literacy.
Yeah.
When we think about financial literacy, we always think about savings or investment decisions, right? Actually, when I'm buying insurance, I'm making an investment decision. And sometimes insurance is not perceived as a financial decision. It's actually seen most of the times as a burden, right? It's something that it's mandatory for me to have, and someone tells me how much I have to pay, and I pay, and that's it.
Yeah.
Actually, insurance is you paying a small amount now for future protection. So you're actually moving money from today to the future, right? It's a future event that might not happen, ideally will not happen, but if it happens, it gives you financial stability, okay? So insurance should be seen as a financial decision. And Mudei's business model is simplifying insurance. So we've created a fully digital subscription process for you to buy insurance and manage your insurance portfolio, because your life changed significantly every year, so you need to have that managed properly. But for you to be able to really, we give all the tools for our customers, right? We provide them the information, how much you're going to pay, what is covered, if it's the right product for you or not. We give you comparable options. We do all of that. But at the end, you're the one pressing the button buy, right? But for you to really understand if that's the product for you, you need to understand the financial implication of choosing one thing over the other. If I want to pay less now, I will be less protected in the future, right? Because it can cover all. If I choose to pay a little bit more, the product is probably more complete and more robust, so I'm more protected. So financial literacy in Portugal is really bad. Okay, and it's not just insurance, we need to work on it. We all need to work on it. It's good to hear that there's a government action plan, so I wasn't aware, so that's good. But we all play a role on it. Yeah. And at the moment, we play our role. We provide information in a simpler manner, written videos, podcasts. We explain it simple so everyone understands. You don't have to have a degree on insurance to understand what we're actually trying for you to buy. But there's also, you need to be curious. You need to really want to understand. And we tend to delegate the things that we don't understand or we will not like to understand on others. Yeah. So yes, we as fintechs and companies, we need to create experiences that help good decisions and informed decisions. But there's also the other side where customers and users need to want to have that curiosity of actually understanding and not just clicking, if that makes sense.
Very well. Thank you so much, Anna. And great to see that you, as you and João was saying, that is so important that building in the product, the easy way to learn, to be super aware of the impacts of your decisions, But I think we have also challenges, as you were saying, that people, you use the word that people have to be willingness to know and understand. Otherwise, I like the idea that otherwise they keep to others their decisions or study of that component, yeah? So that brings me to you, Marta, you could imagine. So what has been, your idea on this, but also connecting with student finance, what are you seeing the willingness for people to learn, and what would be the impact also on this topic?
First of all, I've also thanked the invitation to be here. It's an absolute pleasure. At Student Finance, we're trying to think about this topic from the income side, right? And how reskilling and upskilling is critical to every one of us to take real ownership. On one side, we are living very tough macroeconomic, obviously, times. I was seeing on the weekend recent stats that say that the majority of the savings that people had through COVID have eroded at this point in time, right? So we will start seeing a lot more pain hitting the real economy. But what is super interesting is at the same time, we're living, I would say, maybe one of the biggest opportunity markets in skills and labor. Right, generative AI particularly is bringing a huge transformation in the mechanics and everything related to work and productivity. This will affect companies, but a lot of individuals, and this means that we're going from a world where the past decade we were talking about skills, right? We're talking about the big roles of web developers, data scientists, etc. These are still extremely important, but now with these new tools that are coming into the market, these are one affecting every and each function in the labor market, right? So it's engineering, it's marketing, it's sales, it's cross-border, and it's putting a lot more focus on the questioning and the human thinking behind it. This means that anybody who is now empowered with these skills will be able to follow a very big income increment on the back of this. And this applies to individuals and applies to companies, right? So what we're trying to do in Student Finance, we pay a huge focus is in making sure that we are following the labor market kind of in real-time trends, and empowering people with this information so they can make the right decisions on, one, defining the pathways, what they ought to be studying, reskilling and upskilling to be
future-proof?
More than future-proof, it's today-proof, right? But to be able to really use and monetize, obviously, the opportunities in the labor market. And we do this by then also offering financing solutions that are applicable to everyone, right? So people who are currently in the underprivileged or low-income scenarios can also apply for these and make sure that they are really fixing the skills gap and accessing these fulfilling labor opportunities in the future. And this applies to everyone. And I think that's the interesting part of what we're witnessing now, because before it was highly concentrated in some degrees or fields of study, and now this is opening up a lot more the labor market.
In terms of age or backgrounds, do you have like a group that is more, that come more to you or are more opening to the solutions?
Yes, that's a very interesting question and something that we need to pay a lot of attention to. Obviously, the younger part of the population is a lot more prone to start engaging with ChatGPT and these types of new tools that are emerging and pay attention to these. What we started doing at Student Finance is working very closely with corporates, from SMEs to big corporates, to make sure that everyone in an organization is being exposed and have access to these tools. Because otherwise, we will create a big skills gap in terms of age, right? The older segment of the labor force who will be more and more secluded from obviously accessing these tools and productivity, and then keep active in the labor market.
Are you, and sorry to dig a little bit, but do you think also that is a corporate responsibility for the companies also to prepare their people for this new era?
Absolutely.
I imagine that you would, but do you feel they feel the same in the contact that you are having with these corporates?
I think at this point in time, the majority of the companies are really aware of the opportunity in terms of productivity and output that is coming with these. And therefore, that is opening up the conversation to a lot of the second derivatives that is about what if we don't do this, right?
Yes,
and what
of
are the
course.
consequences? Obviously, on the first instance, companies want to make sure that they are generating retention and preparing their workforce for the future. But on the second derivative, it's very interesting because this plays a big role in culture and how they are attractive as an employer in the market, right? And so, yes, a lot of these conversations are going deeper into how they own the responsibility of making sure that everybody's being exposed to
and
this.
also connecting with what I said, I think all of us either working in startups, that I think it's easier because an entrepreneur by default has already this nature of knowing more, understanding, had to crunch to understand everything on the financials, and has spared already and is risk-taker to make these decisions. But on the corporate world, I think that is probably a role of all of you and us that are in these areas also to help to drive these to scale. So, Ricardo, of course, we have already touched base AI impact. We'll talk a little bit about that further on. I will still give you the time to comment a little bit on what we said before, and also about the digital literacy plan, and also you that work in such a regulated world. How do you feel that you can play, so the companies, and you are a professor in university, how we can play this role to help the financial digital literacy?
Okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. Thank you, Startup Portugal, for the invitation. I'm talking a bit about financial illiteracy or financial literacy, and bringing a little bit, so I'm going to speak a little bit from my academic background, and later on I will cross it with Locker if the time comes. But in some cases, I think we should look to the past. And I think we should look with the good experience that we have in some specific thematics and use those examples, things that we can do to improve financial literacy. For instance, 10, 15 years ago, almost no one in Portugal knew anything about recycling anything. And suddenly, schools, education, and kids, a lot of efforts were made, not convincing all those adults in recycling, but in convincing the younger generations how important this will be in the future and how they could start immediately recycle everything around them. And today, every time I do something that I shouldn't in terms of recycling, I have two very interesting consciences at home that suddenly start saying, hey, you cannot put plastic there, plastic needs to go to something else, or you cannot put metal there, or you should separate everything. And my kids are very annoying around this, so on a daily basis, they are very annoying around how we should recycle everything. And I think we should learn this, and this should be something that we should be doing with the financial literacy, teaching the younger generation, teaching kids around this, and they will be the ones driving this change to the older ones, to the adults, to the parents. Because if we try to create regulations around it, or if we try to create action plans around it, it's automatically a very big probability that it will fail. And I can give you another example how things fail when you create regulations or when you want to change the mindsets of adults. And this is regarding GDPR. So I came from the security world, and we talk a lot about GDPR. And not a very long time ago, I was in another conference talking about GDPR, and everyone was asking me, so what do you think about all these new cameras in the highways, and they are filming us, and they are all against the GDPR, and they cannot have our data on all about that. So everyone was very worried about GDPR in that particular aspect. And I asked the audience, so how many people here would like to have the new Apple Watch, or new Apple glasses in March? And almost everyone raised their hand, and we will love to have the new Apple 3D glasses so you could have a very good immersion in the digital world. And so suddenly no one was worried about having 16 cameras at home, but everyone was worried about having one camera in the highway, you know? So again, regulation is not aligned with people's expectations. And this is what we must change, and we should start early on, better than later.
Thank you so much, Ricardo, and I so agree with you, and I use that example often. That we have to start with youngest ones, like we did with the separation of the garbage and all of that, because it's so much easier for them to bring their ideas home. And so probably, although I don't think we have the time on this topic, only to focus on children, but yes, I think we have to start that programmatically, and then of course try to have other ways of reaching all the audiences and the older ones as well. Also because otherwise they will not use probably your products, the fintech products, because if the people are not prepared and don't trust. And another interesting thing in a survey that I saw that puts us at the end, on the other side, we are probably, I think, second or the third country where people most trust the financial entities. So they trust on the advice of the financial entities. I don't know where this, because it was not a question, where this puts us compared to with startups and with digital. It's like more general, but it's super interesting to see. And we'll come back to that again. Going a little bit dive on your businesses and the impact that this has, a question for Marta. Marta, so based on everything I have already said, I was pretty curious on student finance, and very curious to know, what have you seen the appetite in terms of areas? You already told that the bandwidth opened much more, but how does it compare? Because I saw that you are in countries like Germany, Spain, UK, Finland. How do we compare? And what are you doing here in Portugal compared with other countries, or very less in Portugal?
So on one side, I think Portugal has a very unique thing in terms of, again, just to emphasize that what we're trying to do is on that income increment and uplift, right? Portugal has a very unique situation within the European Union in the sense that income and salary levels are extremely low, right? And we have seen an economic uplift over the past couple of years and growth that has not yet translated into that income side, right? So on Portugal, I would say that the first part of bringing a lot of awareness to the need to reskill, upskill, and opening up and really showing people what are the opportunities that are now live in the labor market are really eye-opening, and talking about, again, what should be the salary expectation when you are going and pursuing these opportunities beyond just the financing, right? In other countries, it's a lot more about just opening up the access and the financing, because you have more efficient labor markets that naturally are taking care of that. Also, a dynamic that is quite interesting is that, you know, over the past couple of years, we are doing a lot of work around remote work, and we have seen a lot of Portuguese people being placed in those companies, and how that is actually changing the dynamics of Portuguese with Portuguese employers as well, right? Because now you're starting to compete with a lot more of an international landscape in terms of, obviously, opportunities, but salaries as well. And so that we put a lot of focus on that, particularly in Portugal.
Very interesting. Yes, and that's why slowly we are seeing a little bit in these areas, at least the salaries increase. Yes. Because of course we are now focusing in a global world. Going back to Anna, you talked a little bit already on the coverage or the protections that the insurance company permit. What is the main areas that you feel that people are more willingness to protect themselves, not being regulated for it or not being obliged for it, that they feel the need to do that kind of move of protection?
I think since COVID, it has changed a lot in terms of perception of how I need insurance. So mandatory is car insurance. If you have a car, you need to have car insurance. If you get a mortgage for your house, you need to have life insurance. You don't have to buy through a bank. You can buy elsewhere. So, and I think COVID just alerted people that they matter. Okay, it's not just the car I own or the house I live in. It's also me, my health, my family, my quality of life, right? And we see more often people looking for balance between their professional career and their personal life. When I started working, I was the first entering into the office and I was the last one leaving, right? Nowadays, that work-life balance is much more appreciated. So people tend to get there on time. They work hard during the day, but they also leave on time because they go and do something else. So that balance. So in terms of insurance, and we see the trends, and if you look at the statistics, health insurance for a variety of reasons is increasing significantly. So meaning you have your health insurance and you can go to a private hospital or a private practitioner. And of course, that's probably also related with the discussion about our national health system, but people tend to value more their health, and they also protect more. So we see life insurance, for example, becoming more relevant and relevant. What does life insurance mean is if I'm a breadwinner of the house, and if I, for some reason, leave this world, means that if I have young kids, or if I have people that depend on me, or if I just want to leave something, some financial stability for the people that I love, I'm able to do that. So I think the emotional side of insurance is becoming more relevant. And that's the purpose of insurance, actually, is actually protecting on the things that really matter to us. So just answering directly your question, everything related to health insurance, life insurance is becoming more relevant on people's lives. But also, and insurance companies also have a very a big share of investment, okay? So savings, pension funds, that's also managed sometimes by insurance companies. So for example, we know that in Portugal, we have Plano Poupança e Reforma, which is something that has some savings that you do through insurance companies. They have fiscal incentives done by on your IRS or even for the taxes that you pay on your company. So that's a product that becomes more and more relevant because it's a saving investment as well, especially at the end of the year. So I think those areas, and because people are investing less in certificados de aforro, they look for insurance, which
another.
is yes,
Seeing
it
as an investment as well, as you were saying, not only.
So I think everything that protects me, myself, and my family more than my things and the things I own are becoming more relevant. But also, I'm looking at, and this relates to financial literacy. I'm also looking at where can I put my money in a safe place.
Thank you so much. So going back to you, Ricardo, and we have to go directly to the AI topic. And connecting all that we have discussed, do you think, how do you see the generative AI play the role on helping, if any, on helping these issues and bringing the easier use, but also easier understanding of whatever we are buying, our interactions with the products? How do you see that? And then we will go for João, seeing how investors are seeing this.
Well, I don't really know if AI is going to make easier to understand what is happening. It will make it will make things much more automatic. It will automate everything. It will propose decisions based on case-based reasoning and based on all the data that we have access to. I don't really know that if people accept those decisions, we'll actually understand what they are doing. And this is what makes things complex. So what I believe is that down the road, eventually, we will just learn to trust machines, and we will just learn to trust algorithms, and we will just do whatever the machines or whatever the algorithms tell us to do. And we may not understand very well how things happen or what is being done, but we will trust that is the best thing that can be done for us, and we will eventually expect the outcome to be positive. Okay, it's more or less like if you look at electric cars. So if you look at Tesla and autopilot, right? So you go in the highway and you trust the Tesla algorithms to drive the car for you. And initially everyone says, oh, I don't trust the car, I don't trust machines. But when you are in the hospital connected to a life sustainability machine, you are not thinking, I don't trust the machine, right? Because if you don't trust it, you probably will die. So it's more or less the same. So AI will make easier to do stuff. It will make much more complex to understand what is being done, in my opinion.
Yeah, but can he, and that of course it's the few people will understand in the future the decision making of some topics for sure, but do you think it can help? So try to understand when people are taking really simple decisions, if they can recommend, but when people are taking very small decisions, like do some questions to make sure that the audience, the person that is connected with the product, is understanding what he's doing before he does it. So like a GPR for decision making.
No, definitely if people interact with the algorithms and interact with artificial intelligence and ask artificial intelligence their doubts, the outcomes will be positive for them. I can give another example, sorry. Some weeks ago, my wife asked me to go to the supermarket and buy vacuum cleaners, well, garbage deposit or something like that. So I went there, I was in line, and in front of me was someone buying a smartphone. And that smartphone cost 375 euros, I remember the number. And she asked the person selling the smartphone, say, hey, do you still have the promotion where I can pay these in multiple times? And he said, yeah, we have that promotion. Let me just do the math for you. And so he did some math and he said, hey, so instead of paying 375 euros now, you just need to pay 50 euros now and 11 more times during the next 11 months. And in my mind, I say, oh, that's crazy. She's going to pay 2 smartphones in 1 year because, you know, it's like 50 multiplied by 12 is going to give you 600 euros for a 375 euro smartphone. And she said, hey, great. So that is really a nice deal. We want that option. And so if she asked the artificial intelligence about that, if he said, hey, is this a smart decision? Artificial intelligence will tell us, no, it is not. It's a very bad financial decision that you are making. The same thing that if she had a kid next to her that learned finance since school, she was saying, hey, no, ma'am, don't do that. It's crazy, you know, like pay it now and give me a smartphone too for me. So it's a way how they are going to interact with people. The problem is that artificial intelligence is going to be implemented and integrated in systems that want you to do stuff for the benefit of those systems.
Of those that create the algorithms.
And most of the time it's not for the benefits of the person that is in front of that system. So coming from that,
But you gave
having a very
you gave a big idea, Ricardo, without noticing, is that just ask, am I doing a smart decision? So we can give the context and then
person
ask.
interact, that's it. If person interact with the systems will provide them with very good answers. And if the persons learn to trust those answers, I believe AI will help, but not making things simple. So it will just help.
Okay. So going back to you, João, and also AI topic, but we can go a little bit besides AI from a VC perspective and a financial perspective, which kind of companies you are looking for, where the money is going. Besides AI, that is of course a topic everyone wants to know, how mature the market thinks, and is it investing if AI, generative AI is not considered for these discussions or not? That is a question. And another one is also related still with the topic of, and the guy from the startup gave a really amazing word, is that save the world and make money. So how interested are VCs on the saving the world and making money at the same time?
No, perfect. Great question. So we at Start Ventures, so just for context, we invest in B2B, fintechs, and insurtechs at the early stage. We invest anywhere in the world, and basically we already seen many, let's say, momentums in different technologies. Like we observed everything around neobanks, everything around APIs, everything around blockchain, everything around AI, and all these technologies, they are super interesting when applied in a business plan, in a context that they can create differentiation.
Yeah.
They can create a moat. They can create. So we as VCs, and we are different from other VCs that typically they consider themselves experts in X technology or Y technology. We are more focused on our vertical, and because technology and what we've been observing in our portfolio nowadays, we got 22 portfolio companies. 4 exits, one of them actually to Google in an AI company that we've invested on. What we observe, it's technology and the underlying technology and the differentiation of the company changes a lot during the life cycle of the company. So not being, let's say, kind of entering at the FOMO of each of these cycles, it's very important, and
of course.
looking into that. Getting back to the numbers, looking into objective, let's say, metrics, it's something that we've kept doing I believe in all the cycles till now, and these cycles, they are of course about technology, but also about, like, let's say, the availability of capital in the market. And again, many people in technology, they forgot like the context sometimes, and the microeconomic context. Like we lived an historical, let's say, period of quantitative easing, easing of money, and this in the end flew to alternative asset classes, namely VCs. And there was a huge stock of capital. If you look at the JP Morgan analysis on the availability of capital in alternative asset classes, and specifically in VC, if you look at the last report, the stock of capital, the dry powder that was so much spoken, it's already 30% lower. So we are already in levels between 2018 and 2019. So there's less availability of capital. Even VCs, they are struggling to get money from the LPs. So all the, let's say, the value chain, it's trying to build. So we are living a little bit more, let's say, hawkish moment on the VC community, and the tech community is already suffering, and we observe that also in the time it takes to raise rounds, the multiple applied on the valuations. So everything got a little bit more expensive. So making sure we keep looking into the fundamentals and what is being applied, and like this technology create differentiation, something super important on that aspect. Again, I think things don't get back. Like I think there's very positive changes in the behavior of investors. I think it's regulatory pushed, but I think it's also pushed by, let's say, genuine objective of course, like it's good for the business, but it's also good for the world, like making companies that get impact.
Okay.
What is impact? That's a huge discussion. Like, at least in our fund, we got it's a very interesting, let's say, framework done by LSE, so the London Stock Exchange, and it really tries to narrow down impact in specific things applied to the, let's say, financial landscape. Because since we just invest in fintech and insurtech, like we have to double click on that aspect and not just generic impact. But again, I think it's much more, let's say, so LPs, so the investors of the VCs, and even let's say the end investor, like it's more worried about that. Regulation, definitely it's there. We observe differences in blocks, right? European Union with the EU taxonomy on environment, it's much more advanced in doing that movement on that aspect. We see US lagging a little bit in the way they're going to push that. But again, like I think it's a very nice movement. In the end, the business needs to keep, and picking Dimitri's word, like needs to make money, because it's not just charity or some.
Of course.
But again, like
serve the world making money. So that's the idea. So I will go for a last question for all of you, and then I think I can ask the audience as well. So I think my last question goes for something that Ricardo also touched a little bit before on the trust. So he said that we have to learn how to trust in the machines and in the AI and in the algorithms, but I will go a little bit behind, asking you, what can we do and what are you doing as a VC in the startups that you have in your startups for people, your clients and customers, to trust the fintech world, the new solutions? Why to go for a fintech kind of insurance or whatever, and not the traditional one? So what can we do to do this, and what are you doing? And so we can start. So it's easier to start by you, but
yeah, I think in our case it's interesting, and touching what you were just discussing also with João. So I believe we are from essence and business model an inclusive capitalism company. So we were built already with all of these at mind, and how we translate that to real world is that, of course, we do report on financial metrics, but we do report on impact metrics and outcomes, and what is really core for our business model. And I think that's really how you connect all the parties, right? Whenever possible, we create the products themselves and the business model around alignment of incentives between all the stakeholders in the chain, right? So investors, us, clients, the end user. And that's really how I believe you make sure that the model self-regulates for that alignment.
And gets proof life in terms of also understanding and getting trust from your...
Absolutely. But saying this needs to also come from investors who understand that, when you are operating and starting new business models that are based on different concepts and mechanics, we do need investors who are willing to give these models a shot, and to also give the time to market to build track record and metrics around this, which again, a lot of investors from more the traditional side don't have that. But as Sun Finance, for instance, we have two of our VC investors are impact funds who really care about again, this alignment.
Very well. Going back to Oporto, Anna, what do you think about this topic on getting trust? And in your case, it's like super relevant because it's like a new, different channel. What do you think about it?
Definitely, that's one of our biggest challenges. Buying insurance online is something, when we started 3 years ago, of course you had brands from the bigger or the large insurance companies that already had digital propositions. You could buy car insurance online, yes, but that was practically it. When we started, Modei is the first fully digital insurance broker in Portugal. And 3 years ago, when we launched, that was definitely one of our biggest challenges. It was also the biggest challenge when we were preparing everything to launch. For us to be able to have a business, we had to have partners. We had to partner with insurance companies because the products we sell are theirs. So, and how could they trust something that didn't exist in Portugal, right? In Europe, especially in the UK, and now across Europe and across the world, it's a no-brainer. But when we started talking in 2018 with insurance companies about our business model, they just didn't believe either we were capable of doing it, because culturally, Portugal does not buy insurance online, but also how could we have the capability of actually building a tech platform? So we did face that. I think the way you get through that is actually getting things done. Like on any startup, you can have a great idea, but you need to get things done. So that's what we've done. We've managed to find one or two partners that trust us, and we launched with those. The others realized that it was possible, and it was probably the way to go, so they joined later. From investors, how do you get investors to trust your business model? When I started talking to some, they got, we already had a couple of financing rounds. And when I started talking to investors back in 2019 and early 2019, they all told me, yes, but why are you building an insurtech company in Portugal? The market is small, and if you're building a tech platform, do it anywhere else where the market is huge. And first, I knew the market, but also I did felt that if we make it right, and if we succeed in Portugal, we can make it anywhere else. And actually, Portugal is almost, I do think that Portugal is a good country to test things, to make it right, and then scale it up, at least from an insurance point of view, because there's actually not a culture of buying insurance online. So we've managed to succeed here. We will go to other markets and crack there as well.
And so now will be easier to conquer the world.
Well, not sure about that. We managed to get investors to believe in us, in our capability, in what we were doing. And what's important is that they actually give us time. It doesn't happen from one day to the other. It takes time, especially if you're launching something new, something that does not exist, something that is really different from what exists. Especially also if you're changing behaviors while you're doing it. Yeah. So it does take time. So you need to find the right investors that believe in you, believe in your business model.
And have the patience to wait.
They are patient to wait. Okay. And customers. I think I'll be quick. Customers, not the most, but they are the part that are relevant. I do think if you gradually provide a quality service, you get customers to trust you. So it probably takes longer for us to acquire a customer. It probably takes us it costs us more financially, but customers that interact with Mudei, they do not leave, okay? So, or at least we do have a good retention rate. So if you provide good quality service, if you put customer at the center of what you do, the service you deliver, if you think around their pain points, how you can actually solve that problem and deliver in a way that it's accessible, simple, user-friendly, then they end up trusting you. And the thing about trust is then referrals. So we actually see good quality service brings more and more customers. So I think it's just doing your job really, really well, believe in what you're doing, and gradually, step by step, always do a good and quality service.
Oh, thank you so much. And the referrals are really important as well, as you said. So lastly, Ricardo, you are working in such hard, and that I understand a little bit, being a marketplace for alternative investments. and a regulated, how is creating trust in that environment?
Well, yes, now talking a little bit about Locker. So in Locker, we have built a platform that allows traditional banks to create in an easy and seamless way what we call a digital branch and provide digital experience to their clients. So obviously, this has a lot of stuff around identity verification. It uses a lot of artificial intelligence to make things happen as automated as possible. We have create very good interactions with the end user and so on. And when we started going to the market back in 2017, we were 7 people trying to convince very big traditional banks to trust our platform and to, for instance, allow their potential clients to open accounts remotely online. And in 2017, and we started here in Portugal, and we had not only the trustability issue, but we also had the regulatory issue, because regulation in Portugal in 2017 didn't allow to open accounts remotely. So this was quite tricky to navigate. And what we have done was we decided, okay, so let's first talk with the regulators. Let's first see, in conjunction with the Banco de Portugal, what can be done in order to make this possible. Not try to go against them, but try to actually help them in what could be changed in order to allow this new digitization era to enter the Portuguese market. We were very well received. We have a lot of discussions with them, very interesting discussions. And as an outcome of all these discussions, there was a change in the regulations that started allowing remote account opening in Portugal. And suddenly, the banks get to know Locker because Banco de Portugal start talking about Locker, and now Locker had an intervention in what at that moment in time can be done that could not be done in the past. And so we start getting some attention for traditional banks. We start getting our first and second client. We start getting trust from those banks. We start getting satisfied clients. Satisfied clients talk with other potential clients. They start saying good things about us. Other clients came. We got our first very big client, which is the red one here in Portugal. That very big client created on us the need of being a global certified partner to be able to supply their brand. And so there was a company called Aquamina that certified Locker to be able to provide solutions to this bank anywhere in the world. And suddenly a lot of other banks in a lot of other regions get to know that we were a certified supplier for this very big bank, and trust was built on that aspect.
Now it seems easy, yes, Ricardo? Now it seems easy.
It's not easy. You need to be persistent and try to find the better ways that
and the right persons also to trust you and to start developing, and then, as always, and as Sana, the referrals. So I think we guys.
Then coming back. Coming back, if you are able to have satisfied customers, they will be the best sellers that you can obtain in your life.
Yes, Ricardo, thank you so much. Thank you so much until now. I think we are getting to the time. Should we ask the audience if there is any questions here or in Oporto? We have here one question. We'll get questions from Oporto as well.
Hi, hello.
Oui.
Hello, my name is Pedro.
I don't think, although we are hearing you, the problem is Oporto. Can you test the microphone, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Pedro, Thank you for doing this, Vanda, and all the speakers. So I have a question for Marta and for Ricardo as well. In your perspective as founders, is there anything obviously actionable in the Portuguese financial bureaucracy that you think it could be changed to attract more startups within the fintech world? Thank you. But yeah, actionable. Thank you.
I think what actually a lot of the things that Portugal Fintech has been doing of opening up the space of dialogue with the regulators is absolutely crucial. So in the experience of student finance, to be specific, so we are actually regulated and authorized by the FCA, so the UK financial regulator. And the level of open, so we were the first platform to be authorized to do income share agreements, which was a different product, again, that relied on a lot of labor data, assumptions and information. And so it took a very deep process of, to be honest, curiosity, but openness from the regulator to understand our models or our algorithms, how we did these income projections that supported the underwriting. And so I think this openness of dialogue is critical. I think a lot of this has already started in Portugal, but the willingness to open up to new business models, I think we still have a way to go.
If I may build on top of Marta's, like what you said on regulation, there's financial regulators already started an answer with the FinLab a couple of years ago, but there's many other stuff, like imagine tax authority, yes. Data authority, so the CNPD, the guys that regulate GDPR, that could be coordinated by the government to have one-stop shop in terms of all the regulatory answers that could be very beneficial. Sorry, Marta.
No, that's a great question, it's a great topic. Yes, Ricardo?
Yes, so, well, we are highly regulated, or, well, not we directly, but our clients are highly regulated, which means we are highly regulated. And our investors are highly regulated, which means we are highly regulated also by that perspective. So we are twice highly regulated company. And that brings a lot of challenges for us in a daily basis. What we have learned since the beginning, and in the example I was telling about Banco de Portugal, is that we don't try to change things, we try to navigate what we have. So let's try and find the good things about we have in the regulation and make it work for us. So that's the path that we normally do. Because trying to change is just going to take 10 years, and we as a startup don't have 10 years, so it's kind of pointless for a startup to try to change regulations because it will just take more time than the startup life. So that's not something that we try to do. Obviously, we talk, and you always present our opinion, and fortunately, our opinion is requested a lot. And we normally see that it is taken in account in some of the updates that are coming out of the regulations where we have interest in, not only in the Portuguese level, but also in the European level. So if you're thinking about the ADAS regulation, where we are heard about it, if you're thinking about the ID wallets regulation, where we also are heard about it, even electronic payments, PSD2, and so on. So, but they are here to stay. So they are not going to change suddenly. So you need to understand how to work with them. If we want to bring more people to Portugal, and if we want to bring more companies to Portugal, you just need to lower your taxes. So that's the way of solving all the issues around regulation, the same way that Ireland did, and the same way that other countries are doing. So that's it.
Thank you. And another thing that I think I don't remember who talked about it, that I can also suggest is that also depending on business model, also using the model of sandboxes that the regulators are also trying to try to create the ask for the kind of sandbox that you need to prove your business model. So that might help also, and the sandbox might be with data information, technology, whatever you might need for your business model. So something that
Can I just add something?
Yes, of course.
I know we are normal as a startups and as a founder. We always see regulations as something that is not allowing us to grow as fast as we can. But regulators are normally in place to protect citizens and not to protect the companies. So in some cases, we should also look at the regulation from the citizen perspective and try to understand if we would like to let that regulations go, you know? So it should just disappear and allow us to thrive faster as a tech company. But in the other aspect, it will bring penalties for us as citizens. So the balance is quite hard to get.
Thank you, Ricardo. Very relevant.
Can I just add something around regulation? Startups or insurtechs or fintechs can actually take advantage of that. We can work with existing regulation and find a solution that meets customer need and it's customer centric. We have the agility, we have probably the know-how, and we get things done. So we're more capable of finding a solution working with existing regulation than a large corporation or a bigger company. So actually, I'm not saying that regulation sometimes isn't an obstacle from what we want to do, but we can also see on the other side, which is, okay, this is what exists. It was created to protect the citizen. That's a perspective. We need to deal with it. How can I take advantage and build a business model on top of it? So it can actually be seen as an opportunity to create something that no one else probably has the agility or the dynamism to create.
Very well. I think
and if I can add something else, sorry. Actually, at Locker, we take advantage of that. So
yes, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, the Portuguese regulation around identity verification is one of the more complex in the entire European space. And we comply with the Portugal regulation, which automatically we comply with the entire European space regulation. And that gave us a very good
competitive advantage.
Competitive advantage. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So thank you. Any other question? Everyone goes for dinner. Question in Oporto. Someone, thank you.
I'm sorry, people want to go for dinner, but I have a question that may be a little deep, but 80% of cards in Portugal are issued by 5 banks, and all payments are processed by a company owned by those same banks. Can someone tell me what they see for the space in the Portuguese payments ecosystem for startups? Does that make any sense?
It can be for you, João?
Yeah, we can speak. So I think if you I think that's an interesting question to make directly to those players. Although what we've been observing lately, it's a very interesting movement on external players. Like I can name 2 of them. Imagine Teia, so formerly Salt, Viva Wallets. Players that, in a European perspective, have been trying to challenge local players. We already observe interesting payment methods, more for, let's say, less day-to-day transactions, like imagine buying online, doing things like that. But in the end, imagine, to name one very popular, of course, like PayPal, stuff like that, it runs off those rails. And I think slowly things are entering those rails. Then I think there's also interesting answers from those players. If you think of, for example, things like MBWay, it's an answer from the system that it's quite more advantageous. That it's very easy to use, and it's of course local. It's not very open to be like interactive and interoperable with other payment methods, but it works and fills a gap, and it's like even with the PSD2 that we were expecting, let's say a moment where regulatory pushed changes, would shake a little bit the water. In the end, I would say the impact is still to come. But again, like open APIs are definitely a way of using those rails and not just fighting against those rails.
Yeah, it's okay. He's knocking it with the head. Okay, thank you. So, should we close?
Yes.
So, thank you so much for the presence. It was really a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much. So, any other words?
Everyone, and now I would like you to join us upstairs on the 7th floor for a drink and some networking. That's it.